Abuse is never the victim's fault. Not at all. But all of us have things that, we're guilty of enabling, and there are things that we can work on. Do you ever find yourself in situations where you are repeating the same toxic cycles? Different people, different situations, same exhausting dynamics. Do you ever question, am I the problem here? Why does this keep happening? Today I'm talking about why that happens and how boundaries are the foundation you need to finally break the cycle. So grab your journal and pen, let's get into it. Before we dive in today, I want you to know something. You don't have to heal alone. I have a free community called Narcissism Unmasked, and it's for women just like you who are rebuilding their confidence and self-worth after narcissistic abuse. We have real conversations, honest support, and every week I host live healing conversations for the heart where you can connect with other women who truly get it. If you're tired of feeling alone in this and you want a judgment-free place to heal, come join us at bit.ly/Narcissism Unmasked. Do you want to heal from narcissistic abuse, but you struggle with self-doubt and second-guessing everything? If so, you're in the right place. I'm Takia, mom, coach, and your survivor friend. Here we mix faith, real talk, and practical tools to restore confidence and self-worth. So if you're ready to rebuild your confidence and finally feel at peace, take a deep breath. Exhale now. Let's heal for real. Hi friend, and welcome back to the third episode of the Boundaries series. I hope that these have been informative to you, that they're landing well. And if you want to talk, if you need some help unpacking some stuff, shoot me an email, admin@growingthroughpains.com. Let's hop on a call. Let's talk about it. Now, if you have not listened to the previous 2 episodes, press your stop button right now and go back to the beginning, because each episode we're kind of building on the other, right? So last episode, I talked about what boundaries actually are. And I hope you did the exercise, noticing one thing that you are carrying that is not actually yours. So let me take a deep breath right now. Now, there comes a time where you gotta be brutally honest with yourself, really do some reflection in order to grow and move forward. Now, as much as narcissistic abuse was a serious blow to me, I had to pause and really take a look at certain patterns in my life. As I reflected, I noticed that in relationships, and I'm not talking about necessarily romantic relationships, I'm talking about relationships in general, in my life, I was repeating certain dynamics, just with different people in different situations. Constantly overfunctioning. I felt invisible, bad, exhausted. I was always trying to prove my worthiness. I had relationships with people that I would drop anything for, but who wouldn't do the same for me. There was just a lot of imbalances. I felt this great responsibility for fixing people's moods, managing atmospheres, managing people's problems, trying to control outcomes. Different faces, different situations, different periods in my life, but the same feelings, same dynamics. And that was kind of hard because I really had to look at myself and be like, maybe I am the drama. I'm the common denominator here. And sometimes it's easier to point at everybody else, point externally, find things to blame. But sometimes we're actually the ones working against ourselves. And that could be for so many different reasons. But when I'm talking about me being the common denominator, I'm not saying that in a way that I was shaming myself or, oh, this is all my fault. But I need to take responsibility from my own healing type of way. To grow and move forward, we gotta own up to our own stuff, man. Gone are the days where you just casting all the blame on somebody else. None of us are perfect. And I'm not making excuses for any abusers. Abuse is never the victim's fault. Not at all. But all of us have things that, we're guilty of enabling. And there are things that we can work on. So I recognized I was repeating the same patterns because they were familiar to me. And even though they were exhausting, at least I knew how to function in dysfunction really well. I knew my role. But just as I accepted that it is not wrong to set boundaries, I also had to realize that if I wanted to live a different life and have a different quality of relationships moving forward, I needed to do something radically different. I needed to have a solid foundation to build on, because let me tell you, I am not willing to ever deal with a narcissist in life ever again. Do you know that eliminates years from your life? Like, I have lost more than a decade of my life because of narcissistic abuse. That is wild. I don't have that type of time to be losing again. Absolutely not. So I had a choice. Keep recreating what I was familiar with, even though I knew it was dysfunctional, or choose a different path. So let's talk about why we keep recreating the toxic dynamics and how boundaries can help to change things. Now, maybe it may sound a little bit repetitive here, but for the record, hear me well. After narcissistic abuse, you cannot afford to go back doing relationships the way that you used to, because that's what left you vulnerable in the first place. Here's what happens. When you don't have clear boundaries, you keep ending up in the same dynamics with different people. Maybe somebody in your life constantly texts you, needing immediate responses, and you feel guilty if you don't answer right away, or if you put your phone on do not disturb. Like, I think that's the best thing that has been created, the do not disturb. You feel guilty even when you're busy, even when you need space. Maybe you're the one that's always organizing everything in your friend group or at church, in different ministries. Everybody else shows up and relaxes while you're the one doing all the work. And you're exhausted, but you keep saying yes anyway. Maybe you left a toxic relationship or environment, but you are already feeling the weight of it again, the familiar exhaustion, the resentment, the feeling of being invisible, just with somebody different. Again, same pattern, different person. And it's because you're repeating what is familiar. You're not choosing what is healthy. And you know, for some Christians, they like to blame everything on the devil. Oh, it's spiritual warfare. Oh, the devil after me. No, everything is not the devil. What I've come to learn and accept in my journey is that when you have lived in dysfunction for so long, healthy actually feels wrong. It feels a little bit scary. So let me give you some examples. You know, if you're on a call and you really have to go because duty calls, and you tell the person, hey, you know, I would like to stay and talk, but I really need to go and do some cleaning. I really need to take care of some housework. And the person says, no worries, we'll talk later. Instead of making you feel guilty for not being available, that can feel weird. You may be waiting for the other shoe to drop for them to throw it back in your face later, or expecting some type of punishment somehow. Or maybe when somebody gets upset but actually deals with their own emotions instead of expecting you to fix them, that can feel uncomfortable because you're used to being responsible for managing people's emotions, people's issues. You're so used to them handing you their anger, their sadness, their frustration, and expecting you to make it better and do something about it. So when a healthy person does not do that, when they process things themselves or talk it out with somebody else, you don't know what to do with yourself. Or when somebody respects your no without pushing back or demanding an explanation, that can feel off because you're bracing yourself for the guilt trip or the manipulation to turn your no into a yes. And this is the biggest one. Oh my goodness. When somebody shows up for you the way that you show up for them, the way that you have been showing up for people all your life, that could feel a little bit strange. Like, sir, ma'am, what ulterior motives do you have? Because you're not used to reciprocity. You're used to over-functioning while somebody else under-functions or does not function at all. But that uncomfortable feeling is not a red flag. That's just what healthy feels like when dysfunction is all that you have known. Your body and your mind are so used to chaos, control, and this one-sided effort that balance feels foreign. It feels wrong, like something is missing. But there's nothing missing. You just gotta get used to healthy dynamics. And this is why boundaries are the foundation for healing after narcissistic abuse. Because when you have boundaries, you can actually spot genuine red flags early on. You notice when you start over-functioning or overcompensating. You can catch yourself before you start to take on somebody else's emotions and problems. You start to see the pattern forming, and you can actually make a different choice instead of succumbing to the pressure. Boundaries give you a way to do relationships differently, and they create space for something new and real to grow and flourish. Without boundaries, you just keep repeating the same patterns with different people in different places. But with boundaries, you're building on solid ground. You're creating something different, something meant to last, something that can actually support your healing instead of undermining it. And the truth is, some people are not going to like when you start setting and enforcing your boundaries. The ones who benefited from you not having boundaries, they're probably going to be the loudest in protesting against your boundaries, or they'll end up leaving altogether. And as hard as that can be, that's actually okay. Because the people who stay, the ones that respect your boundaries, those are your people. These are the ones that won't leave you drained. The ones that you don't have to perform for. The ones that you can actually be yourself around. And as we're rebuilding relationships after narcissistic abuse, come on. We want genuine relationships. We don't want things where we got to put on all of these masks and be somebody that we're not. We want genuine things, right? We want genuine relationships. And boundaries make room for that. Healthy people respect boundaries. Dysfunctional patterns cannot survive them. So this is what I want you to take away from this episode today. The patterns that you keep repeating, they're not happening to you by chance. They're happening because you're recreating what is familiar, even when it is dysfunctional. But boundaries can help change that. They give you the foundation for you to build differently, to recognize what is familiar and choose what is healthy instead. So here's your action step. Identify one pattern that you keep repeating. Write it down. What does it look like? How do you operate when it shows up? And who is it showing up with right now? That's the first step to breaking it, recognizing it, and naming it. Take some time, sit as long as you need with this, because we're going to be unpacking this and diving even deeper. I'll see you in the next episode. If today's episode hit home for you, I would love to see you inside Narcissism Unmasked. It's my free community where women healing from narcissistic abuse come together to talk honestly, rebuild their confidence, and support each other through the hard stuff. Remember those weekly life healing conversations I mentioned? That's where real connection and breakthrough happens. You're not just listening to a podcast. You're a part of something real. Join us at bit.ly/Narcissism Unmasked. And if you want to stay connected between episodes, become an insider. You'll get weekly emails with new podcast drops, healing tips, and first access to anything special I'm working on. Sign up today at bit.ly/Confidence Insiders. Hey friends! I hope today's episode taught you something or gave you a boost. If it did, would you take a couple seconds and share it with someone who's ready to heal from narcissistic abuse? And while you're at it, would you please leave me a quick review on Apple Podcasts? It really thrills me to know that other women are being helped. Now go ahead, stretch, or grab that snack. I'll see you in our next episode.